Hi guys, thank you for seeing this session. My name is Jensen from Denmark. I will talk about the headline connecting worlds, but it's more like DITA merge XML I want to talk about. I want to show you something about how we can connect our DITA content to other systems so we can reuse our content and stuff like that. But first, my name is Bo Jensen. My roles in Grundfos is IT. I'm responsible for what we call XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager, and with shorter words, it's our DITA system in AEM. And my customers, and when we talk about customers, then my customers is actually other departments in the same company. So I have responsibility for the technical marketing department, who is producing our documentation, installation operation guide and data booklets and so on. And they are creating all the documentation in DITA. And then I'm also responsible for other departments that are using DITA to other things that documentation. Okay, my company is called Grundfos, and it's based in Denmark. It's a relatively big company in Denmark. It's more than 19,000 employees globally, I think spread over 75 languages, countries. And we produce more than 16 million pump units, so we have a lot of data we have to take care of. Yeah, we are, I think we are an old company, and when we started, we are producing pumps. All kind of pumps, wastewater pumps, heating pumps, all kind of pumps. But the most popular is the heating pumps, and this pump is the heating pump, and that's the pump that almost is hidden in the basement or in a closet. You never see it. It just has to work every day, 24/7. And in the old days, it looks like this. To the left here, maybe I can show a laser point there to the left. And then we have the newer products, which is really advanced, and it has a Wi-Fi connection, is a lot of communication possibilities. So we have actually tools that can make communication between it. So we can actually have an app that's saying, how do you do? How is your health? And do we have any reporting errors or something like that? So we have a good communication between our pumps and systems. So it's really become very high advanced with communication today. The way we are using DITA, and we are using DITA to produce documentation in Grundfos. We just have all our DITA topics in our repository, which is the AEM Experience Manager and the new DITA system for AEM. And we just have one big repository, and we have maps and book maps, and the book maps represent what we call a publication. A publication can be, like you see here, data booklet, installation operation guides, service guides. And then we have something called Azure Blob Storage. That's what I want to talk about today. But what we are doing is just to create one of the publication. We choose the book maps in AEM, and then we have something called AEM presets. I will show you later what that is. And then we have just Open Toolkit to help us, and a Tina House formatter to create these nice looking PDF files. So these book maps over here is actually PDF files we're creating. And then we have the blob storage to have for content for other systems, and that's actually the goal I want to talk about today. Today, when customers is buying products with Grundfos, they are going into what we call a Grundfos product center, and they can buy products, they can find products, they can read a lot of information and data from the product, but they also have all the documentation in here. They can actually choose a tab documentation, and they can choose what they want to read about. And then, but the thing is that today they have to download the file, And when they are finished downloading the file, they can actually just read until they find the answer on their question, if they find it. So that's what we have today. I will later show an alternative to that idea, what we are doing, but that's how we are doing it today. We have to, when we implemented DITA in Grundfos, we have to change our mindset from a old dusty library of PDF files to more we are creating information topics to other system, information topic which is readable and understandable in itself. It don't need any context around it. So we can just create small pieces of topics that will answer the question the customer has. So maybe many of you is working with DITA in your daily day, and have you ever think about how do I present the content I create every day to my customers? We all know that DITA Open Toolkit can create HTML files, EPUBs, PDFs, whatever. It can create a lot of cool output stuff there. But how do you use it? How do you host it out to the customers? And some of you maybe have it like me. We are simply not allowed to do anything like that because we are divided into many departments in Grundfos. We, for example, have a web department who is responsible for all our websites. So I cannot create DITA content HTML files. They have to be sure that we keep the brand. You know, they have all the rules they have to. So I cannot create any websites and present my DITA content on this way. And the same, we have the iPhone solution. We have the iPhone that creating iPhone apps. I'm not allowed to create an app, so I cannot do anything here else. And the same thing with the Grundfos Productions, the same story. They also have their own brand. We cannot create anything here. So actually, I do not have any possibilities to create output, but the PDF files, of course. So what we are doing actually, I have turned everything around here. I use what we call DITA Merge XML. And probably you have heard about that before, but today I will go deeper into what this is. Actually, later in this presentation, I will show a demo of how we are using this. I will show how our other systems are using this DITA Merge XML. And I will show some examples on how we are using it. And in the end of the demo, I want to show you how it is structured and go more deep in this XML without being too technical. So the first example is our web department. Can you imagine that we have a lot of DITA Merge files? We have one DITA Merge file, XML file for each product or each publication. So, for example, if they are showing anything about a product, the website can decide to pull the content from the DITA Merge file into their website. So instead of I create content for HTML, they actually use my content to pull it out and use what they want. So what I'm doing, I'm only present, I'm producing a very good information topic, but don't care about layout. I don't care about where it's used. It's actually up to the department to use it in the right way. And another example is our Grundfos Product Center. This is the one I just explained for you, where the people are, or customer are going in and downloading the PDF and read the PDF. But what we are working on is another way today, another way to present content instead of they have to download a big PDF. Actually, we cover almost 52 languages, so sometimes the PDF file can be very huge to download, and it can be very heavy to navigate around. So what this is actually another way. Here we have the tool to go down in our DITA Merge XML and pull up content or take content from the file. And you can actually see it is divided into 4 combo boxes now. So we call it, for example, technical data, which is the same as all our references topic. Then we have troubleshooting, which is the same as troubleshooting. And we have task, which is how to. And then we have information, which is all our concept. So instead of a customer has to download a PDF file, he can actually say, what is motor protection? And then he can choose motor protection here, and he get the answer right away here. He don't have to navigate through a big PDF. He can actually just look in the different combo boxes and we can provide the answer right away to the right. Yeah. Again, this is an example where we deliver DITA merge XML file, and the system are using that to look up after the content they need. The next example is actually another thing is, can you imagine that our customers has pumps all over the world? And every pump, as I told you, has a Wi-Fi connection, and they can actually make a communication between these pumps. So maybe we have a customer that has a website, and this website has an overview of where all the pumps is placed, all the pump solutions. So you can actually see all these cars is pumps running every day, and that's right. That's quite cool. The customer can go in and say, "Oh, my pumps is running really good, no problems." But what happens if he suddenly get an alert here, for example? Then something happens with that pump, and he's sitting at the office and don't know what to do. So he can click on the card, and he will come into this app, where this app knows this pump is a pump like this, and it also knows the product number, and it also knows that this pump has maybe thrown a error code, for example, error code 25. Then he can go down in our DITA topic, find the right product, look up the troubleshooting with error code 25, because we have all our troubleshooting has a metadata, which is an error code. So when the system just go down to the DITA XML file, he can present for the customer very nice how to make a troubleshooting on this pump. So this is another way where other system can actually go down and use the DITA XML merge file. So maybe you're now beginning to see a pattern here that we are producing DITA merge XML file, and we let other systems go in and use the content and drag it out and use it as they want and format it and layout it like they want. So we don't care about layout. We just have to create really good informations topic. The next example I have, the last example, is that we all know virtual reality, or we have heard about it. Virtual reality is when you take on glasses and you can not see anything but the virtual world. And if you turn off the power, then you cannot see anything. It's just black. But then we have augmented reality. That's a little bit different, because this is like a sunglass you take on, and this sunglass, you can actually see everything around you. You can still see the pump if you are looking at this pump as here. But the thing is with augmented reality, you can add an extra layer to it. So that means actually that we can add an extra layer with a pointer. When he look at the pump, there can come a pointer like a finger and point somewhere on the pumps. And there can also come text up. And again, here we can pull down the text from a task, how to assemble this pump or how to deassembling this pump. And we can help here with getting the task on how to do it directly from our DITA merge XML. And that can be shown in these classes. And what we have seen actually is that if we, for example, if we have to train new people, we can see that maybe it takes 2 months to train them to assemble or desample a pump. But we can see if we take people from the street and put these glasses on, then they are really fast to learn how a pump is assembled or disassembled. So we can see the education of people is really fast here. It's much more easier to that the sunglasses, as they speak, is showing what you should do instead of just remember how should I do this. But it always can help you how to do it. So you never stop doing it. The glasses is always showing what next step. And then again, we can take the content from DITA to do that. So there was some examples on what DITA merge files are used or can be used in other systems. So my point here is that we do not create any output from our DITA Open Toolkit or DITA repository, but we are more creating a DITA merge XML file, and you should look at DITA merge XML file as a small database. I will try to explain how we are doing this in the daily day, how we are working with these DITA merge XML and how we are creating them. Actually, we have a workflow here I want to explain because, and you will see this workflow many times. I will show you where I am when I'm doing things, also because I'm doing a demo and I want to show in this demo how it works. So here we have our DITA repository, and that's here we have all our topics. And when we create, for example, if we select a book map for one product, for example, then we can click on a preset. And the preset is doing working together. AM DITA system is actually working together with Open Toolkit and creates a zip file. And this zip file, what this is containing only the merged XML and all the images in low res. That's what coming into the zip file. Then we have decided to have an app that can read all the zip files and make a publication to Azure Blob Storage. So this is actually not necessary. We could make a workflow in AM saying if a new zip file is coming, just unzip it and upload it to Azure Blob Storage. But we did this because we want to add on extra metadata and have hands-on what we are publishing out to the Azure Blob Storage. I will come into what Azure Blob Storage is. I will come closer into what a DITA merge XML file is. So just hang on. And the reasons we are doing it in Azure Blob Storage is actually a small detail. It's outside our firewall. So our AEM is inside our firewall, but what we are publishing the content, it's outside the firewall. And then we have a smart API, and all our apps in Grundfos, like the apps I will show you, and Grundfos Product Center, Grundfos.com, all these apps can then use the smart API to look up content in our DITA merge XML file. Microsoft Azure Blob Storage is not something we have to concentrate so much about, but I just want to tell you what it is. Microsoft Azure is a cloud solution where you can upload unstructured and structured content, and then you can stream from it. That's actually one of the most important things, is that when you upload something to Azure Blob Storage, you don't have to download it again. You can actually connect to Azure Blob Storage and stream the content directly, and that's what I want to show you today also. So that's one of the big things here, is that we upload it to a repository in the cloud and then let all our system connect to this and pull the content from there. If you go into Azure Blob Storage, you will see it like a folder, but it's actually what they call containers. So here I have an image container and I have a publishing data container. The image container is all the images we are, for all publication are added in here. And all the merge XML file is added into this in subdirectories like a container like product names, so we can see that. And if you go into one of these product names, you will actually see the metadata of the merge file. So this is the blob, actually, as we call it, and it's just an XML file in the cloud. And this is actually the merge XML, as I want to show you later. And here is all the metadata we add on from our DITA system. So Azure is not any ghost. It's just a cloud solution that where you can pull up content with the unstructured content and then stream from it. Yeah. What is DITA Merge XML? So now we are going into more details about what it is, how we are using it. So DITA Merge XML is just like when we create a PDF file with the Open Toolkit. The structure, when you call, if you add all the content into DITA Open Toolkit, like our DITA system is doing, then there is what we call a section called action in DITA Open Toolkit that calls merge. The merge function is actually where it resolves conref, it resolves all the xref keys and all that stuff. It's actually resolved here. And then it goes to the next step, which is the transformation to the PDF file. But what we are doing is stopping. We stop the section here. So we don't create any PDF files, but we just have the merge function. And then when we stop here, we end up with an XML file. And that's what we call DITA Merge XML file. So it says just that we stop just before it creates the PDF, and then we have all the content, but it's also resolved. We do not have any conref anymore. We do not have any keyref. Everything is resolved into one nice big XML file where you have all the actions or all the information, sorry. We do not think about layout. That's one of the benefits. We do not have to think about conref and stuff like that. All our systems don't have to know anything about data because everything is just pure raw data here. Okay, the demo. Yeah, I just want to say two things. The first thing is that this is a live demo, so everything can happen. I don't expect anything happens, but now you know. And the next thing is that I want to present what it is I want to show you. The first thing is that I created a small app yesterday just for fun and just to show you how a application actually can connect to our DITA Merge XML and use the content and present it. So this app is just a small for fun app. And what this does actually is just connecting to our Azure Blob Storage and pull the content into it and present it as a XML file, or yeah, XML. So that's one of these things I want to show you today. The next step is that I want to show you this app and I want to show you some troubleshooting concepts and so on one specific product. And then I want to show you Azure Blob Storage. We can jump in and take a look how it is, how it's structured, and how it looks in there. And then I can find a bookmap ID in Blob Storage, one of our metadata for a publication. And then I will jump to our DITA system AM and find the publication, and I will go into a topic, change some content in there. And then I will try to follow all this workflow to produce a new published file, publish it to the Azure Blob Storage, and go to this app I created, and you can see the different and what happens here. So that's one of the things I want to show the whole progress here. And in the end of the presentation, I also want to talk a little bit about how the DITA Merge XML is structured in Oxygen. So I will explain for you how it looks. It's a little bit technical, but I will keep it up to a high level so you will not be confused. It's quite simple. Just hang on I will try to explain it so easily as possible. So, yeah, I think we should begin here. The first thing is the app. This is the small app I created. This is just a simple app, and what happens now is that this app is just connecting to the Azure Blob Storage, and then it will pull down all the publication we have out there, and it presents it like this. And then you can select one of the products, and you can actually see that it has some languages. So it depends on which publication you have. Sometimes you have really many languages, sometimes you only have few languages. Then we have these combo boxes down here, and that's almost like I showed you in the presentation, that this is all our concepts will come up here, all our tasks will come up here, all our technical data will come in here, and our troubleshooting will come in here. So that means all our concept, for example, is startup can just be called here. And when I call it this, it's actually pull this on the fly from the blob storage. So what you see here is on the fly. I do not download anything. This is just connecting the Azure Blob Storage and show what it is. Yeah, I can see how to drain the oil. I can give you a troubleshooting if the pump does not start. I can show you technical data. I can show you, for example, our identification, our nameplate. So can you see how fast it is? It's actually pulling the DITA merge XML file. It's using the DITA merge XML file. This is coming from the file, and the images is coming from the cloud streamed. Yeah, so it's pure magic. Actually, it's really fast. But the meaning with this is actually that if I go in and change something in my DITA topic and publish it again to the blob storage, that means next time all the systems are looking at this topic, they will see the changes right away. So I don't have to think about to tell the people that now we have changed the content to a new version and stuff like that. They will simply just see all the corrections right away. So everything with versioning and all baselines and all that are something we are handled in our DITA system, but all our system is just connect and show what they get. Quite simple, actually. So let us try to go in and take a look at the Azure Blob Storage, and that's where it gets the content from. So I jump into our Azure Blob Storage. And here you can see that it comes up with my publication data. And here you can see all the publication. This is actually the same as I show in this one. So this one is saying, give me all the publication you have in Blob Storage. And this is the list you see. Actually, if you go into this one, you will see the presets, and then you see the DITA merge file. And if I click on this file, I can actually see all the information. This is actually metadata taken from our DITA system and published to the blob storage. And that's because then other systems can actually go in and ask on these informations. If they, for example, want to have a publication and they only know the ECM number, they can look up this ECM number, and then they know it is the right publication to show. So, and we also have the bookmap ID, for example. And you can also see up here, we have the last modified. So they can decide to, if they want to check if this is a newer version they are showing, they can use last modified, or they can just ignore it and just show what they get, and that will always be the newest content. So there's nothing more to that. The thing is that a blob file is not something you can see. Actually, you can copy the URL and then you can throw it into a browser, and you will see it will be streamed right away, all the content in here, and it looks awful but that's not something we will see. It's just to show you that it's actually streamed. And the same I can do with the images. I can just take an image and throw it out, and you will see it right away. But what I want to do now, because now I'm in this here, I want to go in and change something in my content. And then I will publish it again and see what happens. So to do that, I need to take the publication ID. And then I jump to my DITA system, which is the AM. And then I can just search for it and put in this jumper, and boom, here you have. It's so easy and so fast to find content in AM. We just click, we just search for a bookmark or the ECM number or whatever. You can actually search for many things to find your content, but here you have the bookmap. And I click on it to go in. And here we have all the presets. This is the preset I told you about. This is the preset that decides together with Open Toolkit what kind of output it will get. So all these is the different output in PDF. And down here, we have the publishing, which is choosing to create the DITA merge file. We can also go to the topic, and I want to edit the topic. So now we are inside our editor in AM. And if you can see that it has 5 chapters, and that's the bookmap we are inside here. And it has 1 chapter for each language. So I just choose the first language and see my products. I know it's a product description, identification, and nameplate. And for example, here you can see this is the topic I shown you before. This is actually the same topic as this one we have in the app here. So what I want to do right now in this demo is just I want to make some changes and then publish it again. So the first thing we should do is actually turn on my tags so I can see what I'm doing. Tags is the elements, showing the elements in AM. And we could take some reuse because I want to show you that even if we are using reuse or conref or keyref, whatever, if we are using that, it is actually resolved in the DITA merge file. So let us take something and add in here. And in AM, we just drag and drop reuse content. Actually, it's quite easy. So now I put in a conref. You can see it's actually a conref here, pointing to another file, right? And what should we do? We can take, we could take, I want to have a hazard statement actually. So I take the danger and put it down here. So now I drag in a hazard statement in my topic. So I have added Adobe DITAWORLD. I have added a hazard statement into the topic, and now I want to save it. But I don't want to destroy it. So actually I save it as a new version and call it demo. Save. The reason I do that is because then it's easy for me after that demo and go back to the old version. You can see it's so easy to switch between the versions in AM. You can just switch between the 2 versions. So actually it's so easy to go back again so I can play with it. So that's why I did that. Okay, I have made changes. So the only thing I need is just to go back to my bookmap where I create the publications. And today I want to create a PDF file, but I also want to publish the demo to the DITA merge XML file. So I click on generate and go to output to follow it. So right now we are doing this one. We are trying to make a publication. I'm creating a PDF file, but I also creating the zip file. The zip file, which was the images and the DITA merge file. Yeah. And you can actually see that the AM is doing it at the same time. It's actually executing both publications at the same time, but the DITA merge file is really fast done because it should not create a PDF file. It's only create the XML file. So it's already done and the PDF file is continue. But never mind, we don't care about that. We just close it and then we go to this app. The app we are going to now is the publishing app. This is here where I actually unzip the content, add extra metadata and put it up to Azure Blob Storage. Okay, let us do that. So I take the publishing app. This app is actually quite smart because it knows, it reads inside AM what kind of publication did we do. And it also reads in the blob storage what kind of application do you have. And then it compares, and if it is not in the blob storage, then this one has been read because it needs to be uploaded to the blob storage. But now it's orange, and that means that it is up in the blob storage, but it can see that it has been changed in AM. So it needs to be republished, actually. So I just click on this one, and this is here where we can add extra metadata, we can add description, we can set a lot of things, but what I want to do is just to publish it. So what happens now, it is the file is unzipping and add everything, all the images, all the languages up to the blob storage. And that's all the languages. So let us go back to the app actually and just take a refresh. And then we can try to find the same topic nameplate, and you can already see it here, DITAWORLD 2000. So it's so easy to make changes, and I don't have to care about who are using my content, because if they are using the DITA merge XML file from the blob storage, I'm always sure that it is the same content we are using. No matter if we are seeing it on the Grundfos.com pages, or we are seeing it in the Google classes, or we are seeing it in whatever, then it's always the same thing. And that's what we call single source of truth. And we can also try to jump back to AM and see if, it's finished with the PDF files actually also. So let us take a look at the PDF file also. And this is our PDF files publication, and let us take a look. And that's what I mean. It can be really difficult to find the content in a PDF file. We have to look here it is. So actually you can see it's changed to DITAWORLD. We have our hazard statement with us. So everything looks really good here. Yeah. And this is actually what it happens with my DITA publish. So let us try to look at the PDF file, the XML file. So what happens here, I open Oxygen, and then I go to blob storage. And what I want to do now is showing you what a DITA merge file is and how it works. So I click on this copy. This is the DITA merge file. And then I go to Oxygen, and like other system is just streaming the content, Oxygen is doing the same thing. So I just open the URL, pass in the URL. And what happens here is that Oxygen is not downloading the file, it's just open the file exactly like it is in the blob storage. And now you think, wow, it looks heavy, but just take it easy. This is metadata we have added on. So just to make sure, I have made a small XSLT style sheet that actually remove the content, the unnecessary content for you to make it more simple. So I want to try to do that. Okay, and then we have a more simple file. And then I have a tab here called outline, and the outline is actually the same as the XML file, but I think it is a better way to you to understand how it looks. It's better to see the structure in here. So what happens is that we have a bookmap element up here in the DITA merge file. the same as this one. And then we have a lot of content down here. And you can see if we scroll down, we actually have all the topic is down here in all languages actually. And the thing is, the book map is the most important because this is pointing to it's pointing to all the topic. So if I go into the book map, I can see that it's divided into several languages. I can see the English language. I can pull down to this one, for example, and I can go to 7, 10, and 11, for example, and see this is the nameplate. This is the same app as I showed you here. So if I click on this one, you can actually see the hierarchy is the same hierarchy as you have in the DITA map. So if you want to create publication with a tree view, for example, then it's also possible because the DITA merged XML file also cover the hierarchy. But you can see if I click on it, you will just see the nameplate tile and the DITAWorld 2000. You will not see the topic itself. And that's because it links to a key. So every topic ref in the book map has a unique key. Then you can use what we call XPath. And an XPath is just a way to navigate around. So if I want to find topic with unique key 11, I can click on that, and then I will jump directly to the topic with all the content. So you can actually see that this topic has the unique ID 11, and the book map has the same thing. So that's actually a way to navigate. So when my tool actually says, I want to have this one product description, it's actually go after the ID in the file. This has an ID and it finds the ID in the file and just present the content. And then I just throw a CSS file on it so it looks nice. That's all. So that's actually quite easy, quite simple. The book map file is the most important. It's the thing that has the navigation. It has a unique ID on all items. And then you can find the items down here. And of course, you can also see it in Chinese. So if you want to see the same topic in Chinese, we can just choose the language and see the nameplate in Chinese. So it's quite simple and really useful to use this DITA merge XML files. It's so simplified, and I really like that the content is always updated and stuff like that. So that's almost my presentation, because this was what I want to explain for you. This one where you have to see that the book map in the DITAWorld file is the most important, and it has an XREF unique ID with a hashtag you can see, and that points actually down to the topic where it has an ID unique without hashtag. This is the secret. So it's so easy to navigate around in the system. You can do a lot of things in these DITA merge files. This is quite simple, what I showed you before, but actually you can make a lot of advanced. For example, you can find a topic with the error code 25, for example, or you can get all languages and say how many languages are there in this DITA merge file, and it just respond with these 5s. And that's the same thing I do in the app here. So you can actually see how easy it is for me to create an app and just use the content and navigate around in the content and show the content as it is here. And that's what our system is doing. It's just going down, use this XML XPath, what we call it, or XQuery, whatever, to navigate around and present the content as they want. So we just carry out how to produce very good content and ensure that everything is translated and published. Then other systems don't care about it. They just use it. Yeah. That's actually it. I'm not sure if my time is almost gone. I think I have some Q&A also. Is that right, Stefan?
We certainly have some questions for you and plenty of time to discuss them.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
So, Bo, if you go into the Q&A pod, you'll see there are a number of things that you might want to kind of review as we talk through it. But just right at the top, Hannah was asking, which formatter are you using with the DITA OT to transform to PDF?
Yeah, we are using the Athena House formatter.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
And we had quite a bit of wonder over the complexity of your system. Really impressive how you got that much information coming in, how you manage it, and how you create that single source for your content. Where are you moving? What are your next goals in, say, the next quarter or the next year with your content? Is there anything that remains unresolved?
As I told you, Grundfos is a really big company. So my goal is that I want to use DITA as a common language across really many departments in all languages. So I want to go after the goal and see which kind of department are using any kind of information. We are also trying to bind our SAP system to use DITA. So our SAP system is creating maps and pulling content. So we are also playing with using SAP to let SAP use DITA topics. So there's a lot of possibilities and a lot of departments that can use DITA. So that's my goal, to have DITA across Grundfos.
Right. Well, I wanted to say personally thank you, because my hot water recirculation system is daily powered by my Grundfos pump.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe now you have one at home.
Yeah, never a question that thing's going to work, and work probably for future generations. They are incredibly built.
Thank you.
It was super inspiring, this presentation. It's very high level technology stuff, but if you have some idea about the technologies, it's amazing. And this is also, if you think about Industry 4.0 and Information 4.0, and so this is exactly what that is about. So this is really great stuff, I think. So I'm very impressed. We had a very interesting presentation, Bo, last year from HOMAG, a wood processing company in South Germany, together with Markus Wiedenmeier. If you have a chance, check the recording on the DITAWorld 20 website, where they show.
Sorry. No, sorry.
Sorry?
No, sorry, I did not see that.
Yeah. There's a recording available on the DITAWorld 2019 website. Or I can send you also the deep link. And they do also very interesting stuff with combining FrameMaker for DITA authoring, combining it with SAP for the product informations for their machines, and then push the maintenance information and technical documentation into the machines in the field at some customer site. And the machine is pulling the maintenance information from the DITA documentation, like, I'm ready for the next maintenance cycle and stuff like that. That reminds me a little bit of what you're doing with the pumps there, with the remote pumps, and could be very interesting for you to see what they are doing there. And for them, it will be very interesting to see what you guys are doing. So I will share the recording of that session with them for sure. Very great stuff. This is Industry 4.0, the future. Yeah,
it's so nice to see all the possibilities we have today. There's so many possibilities to do. Yeah, many ways to do it. Yeah, it's quite good.
Eleanor asked a great question, and she was asking, why did you need to have the custom publishing app as an intermediary step in your publishing process?
Yeah, and that's a really good question. It's actually not necessary. It was a requirement from my users that they want to have hands-on what they are publishing and what kind of publishing has been changed. We have to remember that we are 40 authors in DITA across all over the world. So we want to see who is changing this publication, when is it published, and who did it, and all that stuff. So with this app, we have a small overview of who is doing what, but actually it should not be necessary, but they wanted to the start with to have hands-on the publication. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We have about 10 minutes left before we start with a presentation with Stephen Carter from Adobe partner Bontenus. And he will tell a story about building the brain XML documentation for scalable technical knowledge. I'm very much looking forward to that session as well, but that's still about 9 minutes away, so we still have...
Do we have more questions?
Yeah.
Right now we are... Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, well, we'll await future questions. We did have
I can tell you while we are waiting for questions, I can tell you that we are starting a new journey because we have made all our publication across all the installation operation guide has been made in Adobe FrameMaker for the last 15 years now. And I'm just finished with a new robot that can convert all the frame document exactly back to DITA. So right now we are converting a lot of content into DITA from FrameMaker, and then we will close and go 100% for DITA, because right today we have some application is still in FrameMaker, very old publication in FrameMaker, but right now we have taken decision and go 100% for DITA, and because of this publishing way that we can handle. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you do the DITA authoring in FrameMaker or in XML documentation for Adobe Experience Manager?
We started with DITA editor, but then we buy Oxygen, so we have an extra thing to do more heavy export and stuff like that. But I can see that users today are actually using the AM DITA editor directly in AM. And that's the most used, the web editor. Yeah, that's the most used, the most common editor.
Yeah. Maybe one question to you, as you're very much pushing that. Where do you see the future? Because yesterday we also had an interesting presentation from Vortibla, a solution consultant, about purely cloud-based authoring solution like the DITA web editor in AM, and desktop editors like FrameMaker. And in the end, it was like the best way is to go for a hybrid solution where you can do both, lifting stuff in a desktop editor, lightweight stuff in a web editor. But I know that you guys are more moving into the pure web editor interface.
Yeah, that's for sure.
About that, why do you think that's the right approach?
This is actually because you can imagine that I'm responsible for the DITA system, and every time we have to make an update, I have to go out to 40 different local computers across all our countries at all time zones. For example, I have to hard install something on their computer. I have the control because it is a web editor. We just publish to a server, and when people refresh the browser next morning, then everything works in the same way. It's so easy to help people. It's so easy to make support. And we are in Grundfos going directly after cloud solution. And what we see in the future is that we do not have a laptop anymore. We will just have a thin PC, and everything should be done in a browser. That's what we are aiming after in Grundfos.
So maintenance and deployment is one reason for that. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. There are a couple of questions we have remaining, but before I go to them, I have one question to you as well. Sometimes the moderator can also have a question. I think that's fair.
When you're done.
Here in Germany, I know that selling cloud solutions to especially a little bit more conservative companies can be really a challenge. And they're like, no, you just need to mention the word cloud, and they're shutting down. No, not with us. And did you face such discussions internally as well? You don't need to answer that question, of course, if it's too sensitive. But,
no, it's okay. That's okay.
Did you
Yeah.
challenges and had to convince management and upper management or CEO or whoever that this is the way to go?
No, not so much the management. They are on it, but it's more the people. You know, people are different. Some people don't like to work in a browser. They don't like to navigate around that the browser can close immediately and it lost everything. And sometimes they are more safe with an app on their computer. But I see that people now see the benefits. There are actually really many benefits in working in browsers. You can have two windows open. You can, for example, the web editor can have two topics open at the same time. There's so many benefits they are discovering now. So I see more people is liking to work in a browser now, but that was a little bit difficult in the start.
Okay, interesting. Good. Okay, let's head over to the questions here. Andrew,
well, to follow up just really quickly, Bo, on your comment about using the browser and using the AEM web interface. I was curious where I can see, and there were some comments in the chat pod as well that referred to, an ability or a preference to work in a code editor or in something where your content is isolated. So I can see that benefit where you are editing existing content, you're making corrections, you're curating, you're updating. Do you also find that are your authors still comfortable doing original creation and creating from scratch, where they're not seeing as much of the context of their information, where they're authoring one small piece without seeing how it fits in and relates to the overall scope of the documentation? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, of course. In the DITA world, the hardest thing in DITA is actually to learn people to not having the layout. If you have people working in FrameMaker for 15 years and they have hands-on how the table looks like, and they can use hours to fit the table, fit the image, and using hours on that. But today they do not have any hands-on. They just click on a button and the style sheet is doing the best it can. Maybe not 100% so fine like a FrameMaker. That has been a very hard learning phase for people. That's something we have to work on, because they really like to have hands-on the layout. But today they have to concentrate about the content instead of, and don't think about layout. Concentrate about that the content they are writing is answering the customer's question and is understandable and readable, but not about the layout, because it should be used anywhere.
But with I'm not talking about the formatting or the page breaks, but strictly about the content. Still with the content, if you were to say, all right, we've got a different pump and we have these things that are reused, but those still to see that information in context, I think there's some value to that, regardless of the formatting and the layout, to see the information in context with the rest of your project. I see to still be a bit of a benefit. Granted, I am over 50 years old, so I've got that book-centric, vision still from commercial print.
Sure.
But I think it still is beneficial, even if it's not formatted, to be able to see how the pieces connect without having to publish the PDF each time.
Yeah, and you can see that actually sometimes when I see my own topic in the PDF file and I see it in a XML view, actually sometimes I see error I did not see in the PDF because I see it in another way. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits seeing in another layout and different ways. Yeah, absolutely.
As we're maybe 1 minute left for answering a couple of more questions. Andrew Marseille was asking, hi Bo, I might have missed this, but is your DITA merge file a single XML file per publication or a file per topic concept?
It's per publication and with all languages inside. Yeah.
Okay. And Jean Haney asks, can you talk a bit about how you generate the drawings and graphics and what formats you use? Was the example SVG?
Yeah, we are using SVG, but when you're working in AM, it creates renditions. So when I create a publication as a merged XML, it would come out as JPEG. We can decide if we want to use SVG, but as we have we have a little struggling with using SVG right now. So it's SVG and JPEG we are using that. It depends on what kind of drawing it is.
Okay, and we're at the full hour, but I think it's okay to end a little bit for one last question from Kirk. Do you find any content is still getting created outside of your ecosystem, or you have to go find it and bring it back in? Or is everyone on board with creating within your desired work?
Yeah, we have a little bit problems in the start, but right now, today, everything is, everybody is on board and only use DITA. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Cool.
Yeah.
And with that,